Okay, good day sa inyong lahat. So this will be a continuation of our discussion in the topic freedom of the human person. So nung unang meeting natin about this freedom, nalaman natin yung mga bagay na sinabi ni Saint Thomas Aquinas and ni Aristotle, no? So more or less sinabi dito ni Aristotle that our intellect or our will is meaningless, or our intellect is meaningless apart from the will, no? So nakikita natin dito yung practical intellect natin, more or less, is helping us to judge, no, to judge our to make judgments, no, on our choices, and our will is the one choosing, no. So the actions, no, so more or less, yan yung mga bagay na inaral natin, no? So tapos we talk about halos pareho nung sinasabi ni Saint Thomas Aquinas, pero ang pinakamahalaga dito, no, ang pinakamahalaga dito is that human person has the power to change. No, however, that power to change is not from man alone, but through the cooperation with God, no? Through cooperation or through participation. Okay, so perfection by means of participation. So more or less, if we will be talking about freedom, syempre hindi naman maaalis yung pag-uusap natin tungkol dito sa laws, no? So laws. So pag sinabi nating laws, ito yung mga bagay na sinusunod ng isang pamayanan, no? In order for them to have peace and harmony, no? Sabi ni Saint Thomas Aquinas, merong apat na classification ng law, no? May tinatawag tayong eternal law, no? Eternal law, more or less, it is not just hindi ito yung ano lang, yung basta nasusulat na law. More or less, it is the law that is written by God in your heart, no? So that's eternal law. Okay? And it is the sources of all law. No, it is the sources of all law. More or less, it is also connected to what we call the natural law. So more or less, pag sinabi nating natural law, we always think of the nature of man, no? So more or less, it is the law that we follow, no? That is reasonable, that is attainable by our human intellect, no? Human law is ito yung mga law na ginawa ng mga tao, no? It is passed in the Congress, it is passed in the Senate, no? Yan, no? Tapos may tinatawag din tayong church law, no? So nandun din yan sa human law or yung tinatawag nating canon law. No, pag sinabi nating divine law, more or less we talk about the Ten Commandments, no? So that the law that is written in the tablet, no? Nung unang panahon, pumunta si Jesus, no? Pumunta si Moses sa tuktok ng Mount Sinai, no? At binigyan si Moses ng dalawang tablet, no? Yan, isang Apple, isang Samsung, no? Hindi. Yung tablet na yon, kung saan nasusulat yung Ten Commandments. So that's divine law. So let's talk about them one by one. No? So natural law, in its ethical sense, applies only to human being. No? So natural law is only applied to human being because it's based in the nature of man. No? So it is a law that is proper to man. No? It is the law that is proper to man. So paano ko ba siya mas madali siyang may explain? Katulad ng sinasabi ko palagi, no? Tayong mga tao ayaw nating nasasaktan, no? Ano nating nasasaktan? Paano natin masasabi? Pag nagsindi ako ng kandila, no? Nagsindi ako ng kandila, tapos ito yung apoy. Pag nilalapit ko yung aking kamay doon sa apoy, automatic yun. Kahit hindi ko isipin, pag nadampian ng something na masakit yung kamay ko, ilalayo niya kagad yun. Kahit karayom yan, no? So more or less, ayaw nating lahat masaktan. Na wala namang sigurong tao na mabubuhay sa mundong ito, no? Tapos sasabihin niya, Lord, salamat po sa araw na to. Sana mamaya masaktan ako. Wala namang ganoon. Di ba? Walang taong makakaisip na mangyari sa kanya yun, no? So, more or less, we need to understand, no? We need to understand that anything that will harm human person, anything that will harm other human persons will be against the natural law. Okay? So next, no, the first and more or less, no, pag pinag-inintindi nating mabuti itong natural law, madali lang naman. It is good is to be sought after and evil should be avoided, no? So do good and avoid evil. More or less that's natural law for you, no? So, more or less, a person should not be judged through his actions alone, but also through his sincerity behind his acts. So, more or less, every actions of man, no, hindi natin pwedeng i-judge yung actions lang, no? Hindi pwedeng gano'n. Kasi dapat na-judge, dapat makikita din natin yung mga circumstances kung bakit niya ginagawa yung mga bagay na yun, no? Hindi pwedeng, for example, let's talk about abortion. Pag sinabi ko mga abortion, tama, mali, maraming magsasabi mali, no? Mali yung abortion. But it is based on it can be judged only based on his sincerity by doing the act, or more or less the circumstances. Kung ang gagawin niya yung abortion kasi ayaw niya yung anak niya, no, more or less that's wrong, no? Pero kung gagawin niya yung abortion kasi naganganib yung buhay ng nanay, abortion may be okay. So may dalawang klase ng abortion, the direct and indirect abortion. Na pag sinabi nating direct, wala kang ginawa, no? Gusto mo lang talaga siyang ipalaglag. Na pag sinabi nating indirect abortion, so more or less hindi mo 'yun sinasadya, no? So talagang may complications kaya kailangan mong tanggalin yung bata, no? So more or less we cannot judge the action based on his action alone. No, we need to look at the sincerity behind those acts, and also we need to look the circumstances of the action, no? So yun yung sinasabi sa atin ni Saint Thomas Aquinas, no? So natural law and human law should always go together, no? Kasi nga yung natural law ay always pertaining to human, no, and all human laws must always correspond to natural law, no? Our natural law will say, the natural law will say that life will start from conception till natural death. So more or less, any laws or anything that will be against that natural law of conception till natural death will be considered against the human law and natural law. Dapat ganon ang idea nitong mga bagay na to, no? Pero sad to say, no, meron mga batas na nakalusot, no, nakalusot. For example, the law on death penalty. No, that's wrong. No, that's basically wrong. Hindi ko na kailangan ng mga kung ano-ano pang mga bagay. Hindi ko na kailangan ng mga kung ano-ano pang mga bagay. Based on that idea that natural law and human law, we will now understand. Bakit mali 'yon? Because putting someone into death, no, that is artificial death, will go against natural law. So mali po 'yon. Now, do you understand? So sana malinaw po sa atin 'yon, no? So kaya lahat ng mga laws na dapat nabubuo is based on natural and eternal law, no? So pag sinabi nating divine law, no? So kanina kung pag-uusapan natin yung natural law, kailangan sumunod tayo dun sa nature ng tao. Bawal siyang saktan, bawal siyang gawan ng masama, no, kundi it will be against his nature. Now divine law and revelation, no, yung nakikita natin sa Ten Commandments, no, more or less orders us to transcend to our human nature. Na ba anong ibig sabihin ng human for example, may tao kang kinaayawan, na pag yung taong kinaayawan mo, nakita mo, malamang sisimangot ka. Pero divine law will tell you, love your enemies, no? Love your enemy, no? So ngayon, no, if we will be looking at their divine nature, i-ask us to transcend our human nature. Sabi ng human nature natin, pag galit ka sa isang tao o yung mga taong nakasakit sa iyo, lalayuan mo, no? Pero sabi sa divine law, love your neighbor, no? So kahit araw-araw kanyang simangutan, ikaw pag napapadaan ka, ngingitian mo, no? So more or less that's divine law or revelation for you, okay? Next, no? It gives human being the certitude where human reasons unaided could arrive only at possibilities. So it deals within the external dispositions as well as external acts. So more or less, ayun nga, no, makikita natin medyo ito yung mga ironic, no, mga ironic na saying ni Jesus, no? So more or less hindi maintindihan, hindi maunawaan ng ating pag-iisip, no? Pero mauunawaan sa pamamagitan ng ating pananampalataya, no? So more or less, no, we need to understand, no, sa pamamagitan nitong divine law and divine law and revelation na to, we need to understand that anything that is against the divine law, no, or anything against the law will be punishable, no. So yun yung sinasabi doon, no. So eternal law, no, is governed, sabi ko nga sa inyo, it is the law of God that is written into our hearts. So therefore, hindi katulad ng natural law na tao lang ang nag-govern. Pag sinabi natin eternal law, buo lahat, no, lahat ng creations, no. So it is unchangeable, no, unchangeable. Okay? So, for St. Thomas Aquinas, the purpose of human being is to be happy. Same as Aristotle. Pareho, no? Pareho naman sila na sinasabi, no? Na gusto ng mga tao maging masaya, no? Pero we need to understand that the happiness here on earth, no, is more or less, hindi yun yung perfect happiness na tinutukoy sa atin ni St. Thomas Aquinas, no. The perfect happiness is can be found only in God, no. St. Thomas wisely said and proposed, no, that since ang profound happiness, yung totoong kasiyahan ay mahahanap sa Diyos. God is love. So therefore, ang tunay na saya at tunay na kasiyahan sa buhay, no, ay matatagpuan sa pagmamahal, no. So Saint Thomas Aquinas doesn't talk about loss too much, no. He talks about love as law, no. Yun yung gusto niyang ipaunawa dito, no. So yun yung kay Saint Thomas Aquinas. Let's talk about John Paul Sartre, no. Si John Paul Sartre, naniniwala siya na ang tao ay gustong maging Diyos. Na katulad nung kwento kay Adan at Eva, 'di ba? Gusto nilang maging Diyos, no? Ang sabi sa kanila ng Diyos, pag kinain niyo yung prutas ng puno ng karunungan, magiging mamamatay kayo, no? Pero sabi ng serpent, hindi. Pag kinain mo yung prutas ng puno ng karunungan, ikaw ay magiging Diyos, no? Kaya nainganyo ang tao, no? So more or less, sabi doon na it's bakit gusto maging Diyos ng tao? Because he wanted to exist as being which has its sufficient ground in itself. Yung self-maintaining, no? Parang self-containment, no? Kaya niyang mabuhay ng siya lang. In sui causa, no? In sui causa. Man wanted to be in sui causa. He wanted to be God, no? A man who is sufficient in itself, no? Yung hindi niya kailangan ng ibang tao para mabuhay. Kaya nga more or less gusto ng tao na mabuhay, no? Mabuhay ayon sa kanyang sariling kakayahan, no? So yun yung gusto ni John, yung sabi ni John Paul Sartre, no? So more or less, in order for man to attain it, no? In order for man to be like that, no? The human person needs to build the road to destiny of his or her choosing, no? So more or less, tao yung magbi-build ng kanyang destiny, no? It's based on his or her own choices, no? So, yun, ganun, no? So, more or less, yung destiny natin, no? More or less yung destiny natin na hindi ipinili natin, no? From the very start, no? Tayo yung bumubuo, tayo yung gumagawa, no? Tayo yung gumagawa para sa sarili natin, no? So, para sa kanya, no? Para sa kanya, naniniwala siya na existence precedes essence, no? Kailangan mo munang mag-exist, no? You need to be existing first in order for you to discover your essence in the next things, no, to para makita mo kung saan ka papunta, na makita mo muna yung existence mo bilang tao, then you now try to build your destiny by your own choices, no. Existence precedes essence, no. So therefore, sabi doon, persons first exist, no, nag-exist muna siya, then he encounters himself, no? He encounters himself, nakilala niya yung sarili niya, then he surges in the world, then defines himself afterwards, no? Nakilala niya yung sarili niya, naintindihan niya yung sarili niya, lumusong sa mundo, no? Lumusong sa mundo, and afterwards, he now defined what he wanted to be, no? So, ganun yung nangyayari sa atin sa school, no? Nangyayari sa atin sa school. Nakilala natin yung sarili natin, nakakapag-aral tayo ng iba't ibang mga subject. We surges into the world of anything under the sun. Narami tayong natutunan tungkol sa math, English, science, at kung ano-ano pa. After you understand those things, you try to define ano ang gusto ko, no? Yun na yung mangyayari, no? Ganun na yung susunod na pangyayari. Then the person provided with the supreme opportunity to give meaning to one's life. No, after you search into the world, after you define, no, after you search into the world, you now have the opportunity to define who you are. Ang ganda, 'di ba? Ikaw ngayon yung magbibigay ng ikaw ngayon yung magbibigay sa sarili mo ng definition, no, sa pamamagitan ng sarili mong pagpili. No? Ganun yung paniniwala nito ni John Paul Sartre. No? So, maaring tama siya. No? Maaring tama siya. No? Sinabi niya din doon that freedom is the very core and the door of authentic existence. No? Kaya nga tayo nandito sa mundo. No, nandito tayo sa mundo para maging malaya. No, more or less he move away, no? He move away from the things that may construct that freedom, no? So more or less ayaw niya ng ganun, no? So the person is what one has done and is doing. Ikaw daw, no, in order for you to define who you are, dapat makilala mo, that maintindihan mo kung ano yung ginagawa mo, ano yung gagawin mo, no, ano yung mga susunod mong choices, ano yung mga naging choices mo, that's who you are. No, ikaw yon, ikaw. Kasi nga sabi doon sa isang slide, sabi doon, you're the ones who are giving meaning to your own life, no? So, ikaw mismo yung nagbibigay ng meaning. So, more or less, no, may mga tao daw, no, may mga tao daw na ayaw na nilang umalis dun sa state of life na kung saan sila nabuhay. No, I was born this way, no? Parang hindi na siya umalis doon. Hindi na siya doon umalis sa kanyang comfort zone, no? Nandoon na siya. No, for example, dito lalabas yung mga nagsasabi na pag ikaw daw ay ikaw ay nabuhay na mahirap, hindi mo kasalanan 'yon. Pero pag namatay kang mahirap, kasalanan mo 'yon. So parang ganito yung ano. So more or less yung mga taong hindi gumagawa ng paraan, no, kumaraan para makaalis dun sa current state of life nila, no, more or less is ensoy or is acting in bad faith, no? So more or less bad faith siya, no? So more or less nagiging hindi maganda yung kanilang ginagawa, no? Pag nanatili ka lang doon, sabi ni John Paul Sartre, no? Sartre emphasizes the importance of free individual choices regardless of the power of the people and to influence and coerce our desires, belief, and decisions. No? So more or less, free individual choices. Katulad pa rin nung sinabi niya nung una, free and individual choices. Kahit na maraming taong nakapaligid sa iyo, kahit na maraming mga tao ang nandyan sa inyong harapan, more or less, ang sinasabi sa atin ni John Paul Sartre, we need to make our free individual choices, no? Free individual choices. So kung i-judge ko tong kanyang theory, no, siguro medyo sumablay lang siya dun sa hindi naman sa sumablay. Maaring ganun eh. Man wanted to man wanted to discover who he is, no? Kaya more or less siguro na judge ni John Paul Sartre yung tao na gusto niya maging katulad ng Diyos, no? To be like God, to be ensuwi causa, no? So, pero maraming tama itong sinabi niya, no? Tama yung sinabi niya na yes, you will be giving meaning to your life, no? Pero more or less God has already kahit na siguro hindi masyadong maganda yun pakiramdam mo sa mga bagay na naabot mo. God is still giving you a very good chance to live, no? So more or less medyo tama itong concept ni John Paul Sartre, no? Let's now go to Saint tuloy, no? To Thomas Hobbes, no? Si Thomas Hobbes naniniwala siya dito sa lex naturalis or the natural law. So more or less it is the general rule, no? General rule established by our reason. So nasa utak natin siya, no? Which is yun nga katulad ng sinabi ko, lahat ng mga bagay na nakakasakit, na lahat ng mga bagay na nakakasakit sa isang tao ay pinagbabawal, no? So anything that will hurt other person will be against the natural law. So tayong mga tao ay may tinatawag na self-preservation or life preservation. We wanted to preserve our life. Wala naman sigurong nagdadasal, no? Wala, yun nga, katulad lang nagdadasal na gusto nating masaktan. Gusto natin lahat okay tayo, no? So, more or less, no? So, Hope first law of nature is to seek peace. Gusto ng tao ng kapayapaan, no? Gusto ng tao ng kapayapaan, no? And because of that, the second law will teach us that individuals should be able to divest that right to attain peace. Gusto ng tao na magkaroon ng kapayapaan, no? Gusto ng tao magkaroon ng kapayapaan. And because of that, handa niyang isuko yung sarili niyang kapayapaan para magkaroon ng kapayapaan. Na? So gano'n, no? So gusto ng taong, yung unang-unang rule, gusto ng taong magkaroon ng kapayapaan. Ang pangalawang rule, handang isuko ng tao ang kanyang kapayapaan para magkaroon ng kapayapaan. No? He is willing to give up his rights in order for him to have peace. No? And more or less, no, more or less, and we need to understand that ito, no, kung tayo may dalawang tao, no, may dalawang tao na sumusunod dun sa dalawang law na yon, yung mga tao na na gusto ng kapayapaan at handang magbigay ng kapayapaan para magkaroon ng kapayapaan, no? Dapat nagkakaroon ng mutual transferring, no? Mutual transferring of right, no? May karapatan akong suntukin ka, no? May karapatan akong suntukin ka, may karapatan akong saktan ka. Pero hindi ko 'yun gagawin, no? Hindi ko 'yun gagawin. Kaya ikaw, hindi mo rin gagawin na suntukin at saktan ako, no? Ang tawag dun sa mutual transferring of rights na 'yon ay tinatawag na contract, no? Contract. And that contract is also called our moral obligation, no? So contract is our moral obligation or our duty, no? Inuulit ko, no? Ang gusto ng tao ay peace, no? Ang pangalawang rule, no? Ang tao ay handa niyang isuko ang kanyang peace in order for him to have peace, no? So handa ako, pwede kitang saktan, pero hindi ko gagawin. Basta hindi mo rin ako sasaktan. So more or less, the transferring of right, no? Ang tawag doon, contract, no? That is our moral obligation, no? So one cannot contract to give up his right to self-defense or self-preservation since it is a sole motive for entering any contract. Hindi pwede na i-offer ko, no, i-offer ko yung right ko para lang sa sarili ko, no? Kaya ako gagawin to kasi gusto ko magmabuti ako. Hindi yun pwede. No, dapat the rights, no, it's mutual sharing. Pareho kayong magkakaroon ng ng win-to-win situation, no? Hindi kita susuntukin, no? Ay wag mo akong susuntukin, no? Wag mo akong sasaktan. Pero pwede kitang saktan. Hindi 'yun pwede, no? So kailangan mutual sharing, no? So more or less, no? So hindi pwedeng self-preservation. Kailangan more or less dapat it's communal, no? So dapat lahat tayo ginagawa yung bagay na 'yon, no? So more or less, the laws of nature gives us condition for the establishment of sa society and government, no? So sa pamamagitan nun, no, we need to understand na makita natin, no? So ito yung magiging batayan ng pagbuo natin ng gobyerno, no? Or ng ating mga leaders, no? So the system, no, the government and the society, no, must root from human nature, no? So more or less it's natural law, not the eternal law, no? So we follow the natural law and not the God's law, no? So yun yung sabi ni Thomas Hobbes, no? So true agreement has to be reached for a contract to be valid, no? So more or less the agreement, no? So the transferring of rights must be binding. So ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng may rule ako tas hindi mo alam yung rule, no? So dapat communicated, well communicated siya. So more or less, no? So for example, one way, no? May one way dun sa may isang lugar, ngayon ka lang dumating doon, hindi mo alam na one way 'yon, no? Kaya dumaan ka doon, no? Dumaan ka doon, tapos hinuli ka, no? So more or less, magiging valid yung panghuhuli sa iyo kung merong mga signs na nagsasabi na one way 'yon, no? Pero pag walang sign na nagsasabi sa iyo na one way 'yon, more or less the agreement is not binding. So therefore, it's not valid contract, no? It's not a valid contract. So more or less pwede mo siyang i-contest. Hindi ko po alam, bago dating lang ako dito, walang sign. So more or less that's valid argument. Pero kung kunwari, ang laki-laki doon, no? Kadalasan nangyayari to sa ating mga Pilipino, no parking, no? Pero ang ginagawa ng mga Pilipino, nagpa-parking dun sa mismong tapat nung sign, no parking, no? Dun ka magkakaroon ng problema because the contract is binding. hindi ka man taga doon pero nababasa mo na nandoon. So more or less the persons who is implementing the law is telling you that you're not allowed to do that, no? So in order for you to have peace, no, you need to do. So you need to follow, no? So yung pag-follow natin doon, no, ang tawag doon ay covenant. No? The third law of nature is that human beings perform yung covenant, no? They follow the contract, no? Hindi pwedeng kontrata lang, no? Hindi pwedeng pirma-pirmahan lang. They need to follow, no? So this law made all covenants valid. Do you understand, no? So more or less dapat binding. No, dapat alam ng lahat, no? Hindi pwedeng ikaw lang yung nakakaalam. No, hindi pwedeng yung nagpapatupad lang yung nakakaalam ng batas, no? Kaya nga pansinin niyo pag merong pagbabago sa batas, ang ginagawa binabalita. No, binabalita tapos pagkatapos ibalita, merong trial no bago siya tunay na ma-implement, no. So more or less sinasanay muna yung mga tao, no. So sa pamamagitan also nun, we also found justice, no. So pag alam ng lahat, no, alam ng lahat tapos more or less win-win situation, more or less that's what we call justice, giving what is due, no. Human beings seek self-preservation and security but are unable to attain this end in natural condition of war unless there's coercive power, a single person, or an assembly to be able to enforce their observance by sanction. So merong dapat na nagpapatupad nitong tinatawag na laws, no. Hindi pwedeng tao-tao lang ang nagpapatupad ng law. Dapat merong individual or merong mga nagpapatupad nito, no. So the plurality of individuals confers all their powers and strength upon one human being or an assembly. So lahat ng individuality, no, lahat ng individuals, dapat kino-combine nila yung powers nila and yung strength nila para magkaroon ng individual, no, isang individual na mamumuno sa kanila or isang assembly, no, to reduce all the wills and plural voices para maging one, no. So kasi kung lahat nagsasalita, imagine niyo sa loob ng isang classroom, lahat ng tao nagsasalita, no, napakaingay, napakagulo. Kaya tayo may tinatawag ng president para pag merong mga issue or merong mga problema, yung president yung nagsasabi doon sa teacher kung ano yung dapat na mangyari, no, or ano yung concerns ng klase. 'Di ba? Do you understand? Ganun yung nangyayari. Pero pag lahat tayo nagsasalita, no, more or less hindi tayo magkakaintindihan, no? So dapat the individuals will confer all their powers and their will and their strength into a one human being or one assembly, no, para magkaroon ng tinatawag na one voice. Okay, so next. So, ang tawag natin doon, Commonwealth by a Commonwealth, no? So, it's an institution established through covenant of every member of multitude with every other member. So, more or less, yun yung Commonwealth, no? So, more or less, ito yung tinatawag natin, yung kung sa atin ngayon, government, no? More or less, no? So, may institution. Ito yung institution na dito natin pinagsama-sama yung ating powers, okay? Or our voices or our strength, no. So that is commonwealth, no. So commonwealth by acquisitions exist when the sovereign power has been acquired by force, no. Okay, so ayun. Okay, saglit. Ayan. Okay? Sovereignty is inalienable. It is affected by neither or no two commonwealths. Okay? So, yan. No? So, okay na yan. Okay? So, let's go to Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Okay? Pag sinabi natin si Jean-Jacques Rousseau, ang sabi niya dito, human beings are born free and good. No? Mabuti daw tayo, malaya daw tayo, no, but we become enchained, no. So naitali tayo, naigapos tayo ng evil influences ng society natin, no. So we are free, we are good, no, magbuti, maganda yung race natin, pero ang nangyari because of the society that is evil, that is having conflict and that is having deceit, anong nangyari, na chain tayo, naitali tayo, no, naitali tayo into into that situation, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng kaguluhan, no? So in order for us to restore that peace and harmony, no, what happened is that we need to have the social contract, no? We need to have the social contract, no? So more or less dapat magkaroon, no, there must be a common power or government which the plurality of the individuals, the citizens, should confer all their powers and strength into one will or ruler, no? So more or less kaya yun yung sinasabi niya. Meron dapat na tinatawag na government, no? Meron dapat tinatawag na government or the state. Okay? So more or less yun lang yung sinasabi ni Jean Jack Rousseau. So that is freedom, no? Thank you and good day.